crime fighters. I'm Ray, the DA, and this is Straight Talk. Well, it's finally happened. Kentucky's criminal justice system has become a fairy tale wonderland for criminals and an absolute nightmare for Kentucky's crime victims. Let me talk to you about the fantasy of Kentucky's criminal justice system. You remember Alice in Wonderland? Alice's Adventures in Wonderland was written in 1865 by Lewis Carroll. And it tells of a girl named Alice who falls down a rabbit hole into a fantasy world. Alice describes that fantasy world she discovered like this: if I had a world of my own, everything would be nonsense. Nothing would be as it seems. Well, Kentucky's criminal law and court system these days seems to be right out of Alice's fantasy world. If you think I'm kidding, you better think again. You see, our legislature passed what has become known as House Bill 463. Opponents of this law refer to it as the legislature's catch and release experiment with the safety and security of our citizens. They promised when they passed this bill that by passing this law, not only would prison inmates be released early, but we would also be safer and more secure. Not only that, they said we were going to save $422 million in 10 years. That's what they claimed. The only goal of this catch and release scam was to drastically reduce the number of convicted felons in prison. No matter what else they said, that was the purpose. In the process, they simply transferred the cost of crime from the prison budget with the state onto the backs of new victims of these thugs that they release. So how do they plan to accomplish their soft on crime, let them out of jail goal? First, they plan to release convicted felons from prison early. Then they appointed parole board members who they hoped would increase the number of prison inmates that were paroled. Next, encouraged judges to probate convicted felons and leave them on our streets to do what they do best, commit crimes. That, they said, would reduce the number of convicted criminals sent to prison in the first place. Then they said, we're going to count the time that these convicted criminals were on the street on probation and parole as if they were in custody. Figure that one out. They then drastically reduced the number of paroled and probated felons that are sent back to prison when they violate the conditions of their release. Then they reduced the supervision of convicted felons that were on probation by requiring telephone contact. That's right. Call us up and tell us how you're doing. They instructed probation and parole officers to reduce the number of violators they recommended to be revoked and sent back to prison. Police and prosecutors hate this legislation. They hate House Bill 463. They hate the judge's soft on crime approach. But I would be disingenuous if I said no one liked it. You see, the criminals love it. And the public defenders think it's wonderful. Why, they even honored the authors of this catch and release scam and called them heroes. If the criminals and lawyers love this law, there really has to be something wrong with it. And there is. In this fantasy criminal justice world, you see, crime pays. And like Alice's world, nothing makes sense. And then there are the tax-paying and law-abiding citizens who obey the law and become victimized and pay their taxes for public protection from criminals that they are not now receiving. I'll bet that Alice had Kentucky's criminal justice system in mind when she said that in her world, nothing would make sense and nothing would be as it seems. By the way, Alice also said, and this is important, she said, I never stopped to reason, and I should have known that someday there would be a price to pay. And crime victims and Kentucky's tax-paying citizens are paying the very high price for this soft-on-crime, criminal-friendly injustice system. I'm Ray the DA, and this is Straight Damn Talk.